I've overlooked this one section in FL Studio for years, and chances are you have too. Since I've learned it, it's helped my beats improve tenfold. So today, we're going to be going over the pre-computed effects in FL Studio. Stick around to the end of the video because what you learn here, you're going to be using for the rest of your production career. I promise you. You ready? Let's get into it. So we have the FL Studio channel sampler right here. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and click on this valve here to the right. This is going to take us to the section that we're going to actually be going over here today. First, we have this boost knob, and directly below the boost, we have clip. So without clip engaged, boosting just simply adds more gain to our audio. If we go ahead and select clip, as we turn this knob, it's going to add more of that clipping or saturation to our audio. And with clipping, you don't really have to do too much. Just a little bit goes a long way, especially when it comes to things like saturating our drums. So let's go ahead and listen to how this snare sounds. I'm just going to play the original, then I'm going to start to add a little bit of clipping to it. As you can hear, we're getting a little bit of extra crunch to that snare, and that could be really pleasing to the ears, especially as you're making a beat. You don't have to pull up a third-party plugin or even use the Fruity soft clip or anything like that. You can just dial this in, get the amount of clipping that you're looking for, and continue on composing your beat. And to the right of boost, we have EQ. And this is actually an EQ frequency balancer. So what does that mean? That means if we move this knob to the left, this is actually going to cut some of the frequencies. So it's going to give us kind of a lighter, cleaner type of sound. And if we move this knob to the right, this is actually going to boost frequencies in our audio. And it's going to give us kind of a, I would say like a darker kind of vintage feel. So let's go ahead and take a listen as I play the snare. I'm going to go from making it lighter to making it darker. So let's take a listen. As you can hear, turning the knob left kind of gave the sound a more airy, lighter kind of feel. I would say if you're making a beat and you're working with a sound and you kind of feel like it's a little bit too muddy, this is a great knob to reach for. And as I turned the knob right, I felt like I got a little bit more thump, and it kind of made it feel a little darker. So I felt like I get a little more body, a little more snap, but at the same time, I felt like things felt just, I would say maybe even slightly more analog. And to the right of EQ, we have RM mix and RM frequency, and these two work together. So what is RM mix? RM mix is a sound wave modulation that is actually added to our audio. And RM frequency actually changes the pitch of the modulation that's added to the sound. The more you turn it right, the higher the pitch is of the modulation that's added. So let's go ahead and take a listen and see how it sounds. As we can hear, it totally mangled the sound as I turned up the RM mix. This is really going to come in useful, especially for all my sound designers and loop makers out there. If you have a sound that you already have and that you're working on, and you want to just totally change how it sounds, instead of reaching for all of those extra third-party plugins that I know you have, just use RM and RM frequency, and hey, you never know what you might come up with. And to the right of that, we have cut. And this is simply a run-of-the-mill low-pass filter. Let's say you have too much hiss in your sound. You can go ahead and reach for this knob, control the hiss. And to the right of cut, we have resonance, which controls the resonance that's included with that low-pass filter. So let's go ahead and take a listen to this low-pass filter here with cut. I'm also going to use the resonant to kind of shape the sound as I'm taking off some of that top end. Hey, that sounds pretty cool to me. Using that low pass filter in conjunction with that resonance really gave me a pretty unique sound. It really doesn't even sound much like a snare to me anymore. So if you're out there making your own kits, making your own loops, or just even cooking up a beat and want to try something unique, go ahead and reach for these two knobs. All right, and for our next section right down here, we have our reverb. So we have two reverbs, Reverb A and Reverb B. Now, Reverb A is actually a tighter sounding reverb, and Reverb B is a larger space sounding reverb. So it sounds like the reverb is further away from the original source. Let's go ahead and dial it in and take a listen. We'll start with A, then we're going to move on to B. Oddly enough, I like the sound of Reverb A on this particular sound. To me, it feels like I'm in the realm of creating something brand new. I'm just trying to totally manipulate the sound in a way that I didn't plan on. And with Reverb A, with the reverb dialed up all the way, I feel like I'm right on track to kind of crafting something new. And to the right of reverb, we have stereo delay. And this is not the stereo delay in the way that you're actually thinking of, like some type of echo. This stereo delay is actually the HAAS effect. Just think of it as a easy to use stereo widener effect. You can use this to play certain sounds in different areas of the mix, which will give you much more space. But be careful, because you don't want to have too many just different wide sounds. That can kind of throw off the phase of your mix. In other words, it can make your mix sound kind of weird on different, especially smaller listening devices. So let's go ahead and take a quick listen at the stereo delay. Now you're really going to feel this, especially if you're listening to the sound on studio monitors. It kind of went from a weird kind of phasey kind of effect, and then as you turn it and kind of dial it in right, it's going to start to feel like your sound kind of just almost kind of feels more stereo, if that makes any sense. And finally, we have POGO, and POGO is just a pitch bend effect. Now if you turn the knob left, this is going to move the pitch bending effect towards the attack of the sound. And if you move the knob right, this is actually going to move the pitch bend effect towards the tail end of the sound. So you can make some pretty cool effects with this knob. So let's go ahead and take a listen. I'm going to start by turning it left, then I'm going to go on to turn it right. I really feel like turning the knob left will kind of give you a cool feel if you're working on something like, let's say, a perk sound in the background of your beat. And if you move the knob right, I'm kind of getting like a tape stop kind of effect with it. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a comment FL gang right below. That'll let me know you enjoyed this content and I can continue to make a lot more. I'm Desmond A. Make sure you hit like and subscribe, and I'll be back with more great videos. Peace. Desmond A.